Hi, everyone. This is Mike Rennick. I am the senior broker and the team lead for Team Rennick Real Estate Services. We are part of the Keller Williams on the Water family. What I thought I'd do is we do a later broadcast than normal. I'm sitting at home. We could be a little bit more relaxed because the topic that I want to share tonight has to do with the art of negotiations. When everyone works hard to put a deal together, someone's looking to buy a house or someone's looking to sell a house, lots of steps, lots of hard work, and we're starting to cover some of those in previous and also will continue in subsequent Team Rennick Live videos. But one of the most crucial aspects is negotiations. Deals can be won or lost depending on how folks bridge that. And what I wanted to do is just share a little bit about my background and a little bit about our approach at Team Rennick for negotiations. I retired after 31 years at General Motors, and I was fortunate spending time on the finance staff, manufacturing staff, planning staff, information technology, that I was involved in a lot of negotiations inside the company and externally. I have probably sat in every continent in the world, negotiated contracts in multiple currencies, exchange rates, foreign languages. That's the interesting thing is even though you're using English, if you're sitting in Italy, is making sure you have a meeting of the minds, because it really, before we look at what gets on paper, we have to know whether we have everybody understands the same thing. That's the key there to making things successful. So I wanted to share two different aspects tonight. One, what the agent must do to prepare for negotiations. I think anything short of that and they walk in and they're unprepared, and that's not what you want. As a seller, you want the highest price possible. As the buyer, you want the lowest price possible. I get that. In order for me to deliver that, I've got to be prepared. See, there's three different prices in every single transaction. There's a seller desired price, there's the market price, and there's a buyer desired price. Unless the negotiating team can get those to align, there's no deal and nobody wins. That seller doesn't sell the house they want to sell. That buyer doesn't get the home that they love. And the agents, of course, walk away with no deal. So nobody wins. So one of the key points is it's an all win-win scenario. There are no losers if it's done appropriately. So let me talk about the kinds of things the agent needs to understand. First of all, you do a market analysis. We call it a CMA, a competitive market analysis. That gives you a snapshot in time. And that's only a starting point. And we come up with what we think the market price might be. But I've got a whole bunch of other factors that we look at, and I can't memorize all these, not at my senior age any longer. So I've taken some notes. But one of the things we look at as we prepare, whether we're on the buyer side or seller side, it doesn't matter. We need to know these. How many properties have sold recently? And what's that like versus last year, versus last month? What's the current inventory level? Has it gone up? Is it coming down in terms of just a couple of months ago, or even looking at that last year also? Are there a lot of houses on the market that are similar, or are there very few? What's the properties under contract? What's that inventory level with the pendings? Going up, going down, or remaining constant? Average sold price per square foot. When we look at that, it's an indicator to try to get as many homes on an apple-on-apple comparison when you break it down to dollar per square foot. And that's not the end of the negotiations. That's only the start. But is that average price in that area going up? Is it going down? Is it remaining constant? And when I talk about that area, I'm talking about the statistics for that subdivision or that condo association. We must drill down to that level, because the county could be in one type of market, but that subdivision in a completely different kind of market. The agent needs to know that so they can leverage it to your advantage, their client, whether it is a seller or a buyer in this case. How many days on the market? When a home gets listed, are we seeing that trend up? Are we seeing it stay neutral, or are we seeing it fall? When we look at the sold price versus original asking price, what's that relationship? Is it going up, going down, or staying neutral? What's the average for sale price? What's that trend line look like? The average sold price. We seeing things go up, go down, or staying neutral? And also the median price. How many months of inventory are there right now? And what's the absorption rate? In other words, if there's 10 homes on the month, 10 homes on the market, and 2 sell per month, the absorption rate is 5 months. So that's just a high level look at the indicators that your agent must understand. There's a whole lot of things we do with those, and there's even more indicators that we use. But I just wanted to give a feel for if an agent writes a contract and then picks up the telephone while you're sitting there and starts sharing with the other side, it's out of whack. It's not right. Before you can even write that contract, I want to position my buyer or my seller for the most possible strongest position in terms of getting, as a seller, the highest price, as a buyer, the lowest price. At the end of the day, it's homework that gets it done. You can't negotiate when you don't know what's happening in the market. Again, like I said, there's three prices. And no matter what side of the table you're sitting on, all three prices are germane. It's the seller desired, it's the market price, and the buyer desired. Three different prices. And when we bring those together, everyone can win. So let's talk about how everyone can win. It's about creating an environment. So let's forget about the numbers for a second. Everyone involved in the negotiations, the seller, their agent, the buyer, and their agent, they need to establish negotiations based on trust, based on teamwork. Let me give you an example. So let's say I'm representing the buyer. And let's say this house is a $500,000 house. They're asking $500,000. And when I do the market analysis, I say it's worth 400. And I've got all the statistics. I've looked at it. I've shown the data to the buyer. So I have a couple of different approaches. Again, I'm on the buy side. Market number is 400. Seller desired price is 500. I'm using some extremes to make my point. I can call the other agent and say, what are you doing listing a price? It's 100,000 over market. What was your thought process for doing that? That will fail each and every time. We're not establishing a relationship of trust. We're not establishing a relationship based on a win-win. The kind of phone call that should be made, and one that we make all the time, is we call the other agent. And we share with them that we can't find the data supporting that price. Our data shows something significantly less. So we ask for their help. So if the other agent was Amy, I'd say, Amy, I really am struggling. I would like to use your experience and your understanding of how you arrived at that price. So even if that was what we call a seller desired price and the agent agreed to list it over market, that agent now is starting to understand and is feeling comfortable. So it's all about the approach. It's behaving like an adult, keeping emotions out of it, establishing an area of trust where everyone feels they've got input and can win. At the end of the day, when you combine all of those, and don't be afraid to say you made a mistake. I developed a number that was 400. If the number is wrong and the other agent shows it to me, I'll admit it. Make the mistake or admit the mistake and own up to it. When everyone sits down at the virtual negotiating table, because we don't sit at a table anymore, everything is done with e-signing and phone calls and text messages and emails and virtual chats and all kinds of things. But when we sit down at that virtual negotiating table, after 40 years of experience, the 10 years in real estate, 30 years at General Motors, that's what I found wins. No matter what side of the table I'm on, if I can get the deal that my client is looking for at a price they deem fair, we walk away and everyone's a winner. Those are my thoughts on what it takes to negotiate. I'd like to hear more of what your thoughts are. Feel free to send me an email. You can reply to this in the chat room on Facebook, or you can send me a text message to 941-400-8735. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say. If you have any comments that either support these or feel differently or against these, share those and let's have a lively discussion on Facebook. Again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. The next Facebook Live will be next week. We're going to delve into the world of mortgages. As soon as I get that scheduled, I'll put that out for everyone to see. Thanks, everyone. Take care.